That's it. He told me this morning. Maybe I'll just walk the streets. Okay, we're going to call this annual meeting and budget hearing to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, with the annual meeting, the chairperson is elected from the floor.
I make motion to elect Dean Dobbertin chairperson at the annual meeting.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, then say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Both same sign. I will chair the meeting. Okay, we've got this budget hearing. We'll call that to order. You wanted to?
Yep, sure. We'll allow it to come this way.
All right.
Maybe we'll turn it over to you. Thanks.
Well, welcome everyone to the annual budget meeting. My name is April Farley, and I am the new business manager here. And I'm happy to be here. So I want to start today by just going over the agenda. So we're going to talk about budget goals and factors, general overview of our expenditures and revenues, key budget dates, our state aid, revenue and membership limit, just kidding, membership and revenue limit, tax levy and mill rate, and some fund balance updates. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is COVID-19 expenses and how that's going to be impacting our budget this year. So the goals of the budget are pretty simple. As with everything we do at Merton, the budget is developed with our mission and vision statement in mind. So our mission statement is to foster academic excellence while inspiring curiosity and personal growth. So with that in the forefront, the main priority of the budget is to utilize our financial resources to support our teachers and students in the work that they do every day for the district. And we also place an emphasis on maintaining clean and safe facilities and strong technology infrastructure and a safe and comfortable learning environment for students and staff. So by appropriately aligning our financial resources, I'm hoping to demonstrate fiscal responsibility to the community and the district and our families. So the factors that are kind of playing into this budget this year, there's a couple different things going on. The first one is the per pupil adjustment dollar amount. So that was included in the biannual budget, the 2019 to 2021 budget. So the per pupil amount increased during this budget that we're in right now to $742 per pupil. That was an $88 increase over the last budget. So we are seeing additional revenue from that. The revenue limit per member adjustment also increased this year, and that has been zero since the 2015-16 year. And so the 2019 to 2021 budget is the first biennial budget that did provide an increase, and that increase was $179. The low revenue ceiling has also risen. So what that does is that that's good for Merton because we are a low spending district. So now we are allowed to spend $10,000 per pupil. Before it was $9,700. So that's a benefit for our district. The special ed aid reimbursement also increased from 26% to 30%. That amount could change or be frozen depending on what's decided at the state level. So this budget is operating under the assumptions of the current law. So it is possible that there would be a budget repair bill or a spending freeze. As of today, right now, none of that has been, none of it is official. So my personal speculation is that if we see any major changes, it will be with the next biennial budget, the 2021 to 2023 budget. So there is good news. The good news is the state Senate released communication earlier this month that Wisconsin's general purpose revenue tax collection fund actually increased 1.1% during the fiscal year that just ended in June. So that was surprising, but really good. And I think a lot of that was due to, we just had a really strong economy for the first 9 months. So that would have been July of 19 through March of 2020. So that's good. We're in a better spot than we thought we were going to be in. So back to budget changes. With the unknowns of COVID, we did proactively hire 2 long-term building subs and 1 floating aide. So each of our buildings, the primary and the intermediate, each have their own sub. And then we have 1 aide that has availability within her schedule to cover where she's needed. And we think that that will just help Merton in easing the impending substitute shortage, which is probably inevitable. So we also moved 3 of our part-time aides to full-time positions just for this year for the same reason. At this point, no salary increases have been set for the 2021 year, just due to all the unknowns in the budget, but retro pay could be an option moving forward. So the other factor is summer school. So summer school was less attended this year compared to previous years, just to the virtual nature of the program. Our enrollment was lower. So we will see a decline in our 3-year rolling membership from that. So we're going to talk about just a general revenue breakdown. So this is just Fund 10 revenue right here. About 83% of our revenue is controlled by the revenue limit. So that gives us a total of $9.4 million, and about 48% is going to come from the tax levy. The next biggest source for our revenue is state equalization aid, and that's at 33%. So open enrollment also provides about 10% of our revenue. We might see that dip a little bit this year just due to COVID, and people are, if they're open enrolling, they might be going to virtual schools. So there might be a little bit of a shift. Nothing's finalized yet at this point. Other state revenues, about 8%. That's things like categorical aid, special ed categorical aid, transportation aid, and common school funds. The little tiny purple sliver is other revenue, which is things like equipment, surplus equipment sales, interest earned, student fees that we charge for registration and that kind of a thing. And then our federal title and flow-through grants are less than 1% of the district's revenue. So here's just an overview of the budget expenditures. So the general fund is at about $9.6 million. Special ed is projected to have about $1.4 million in expenses. Our non-referendum debt account, which is Fund 38, that was the solar panels that were installed last year. So that one's going to have a debt payment due during the year. And the capital expansion and long-term capital expansion funds, we have money set aside in those, which we might expend from those at some point this year, but nothing's been decided with the intermediate remodel. So there's potential there, but officially, for the purposes right now, we don't have a specific dollar amount. We will in October when we finalize everything else. Fund 49 is not going to be utilized this year. That's referendum debt. We don't have any of that. Food service has operating costs of about just under $300,000. And the Fund 73 Employee Benefit Trust was zeroed out with the 1920 year. So all of our retirees have utilized their benefits through that account. So that one is closed. So this is just a pie graph of our expenditures. Our largest expense is salary and benefits, which is pretty typical for a school district because we really are a service industry. So there's about 46% for salaries, 18% for benefits, so 64% total. So that's a good chunk of our money on salaries and benefits. The transfer from the general fund to Fund 27 is going to account for about 10% of our revenue expenses. Sorry. And then we have purchase services at 15%. Those are things that we pay other people to do for us. So that's like transportation, utilities fall under that, technology, like licenses and data processing, that kind of a thing. And then we have district liability and property insurance, which is about $68,000. And our open enrollment cost the district about $450,000 for the students that open enroll out. So some dates that are going to be important in finalizing the budget. This Friday, September 18th, is our third Friday membership count. So that determines the number of resident students in the district, and that will impact the revenue limit calculation. So October 1st, the Department of Revenue will certify the tax value of the property within the district, and that property valuation will directly impact the mill rate. On October 15th, state aid is finalized and certified by DPI. And then once we have the final value for these factors, the revenue limit is going to be updated, and then the final tax levy will be determined at that point. So then at the end of the month, the final tax levy will be ready for the board to certify. The revenue limit and the membership. So the revenue limit controls the maximum amount of revenue that can be raised through state aid and property taxes. So it's formula driven. And the membership or the head count is a major factor in this calculation. So there's an equation at the bottom of the slide that kind of walks through how we get to our FTE. So with the FTE, I had talked about summer school a little bit before, so we are expecting to drop this year. So last summer we had 39 kids enrolled in summer school, and this year we had just 18. So once we factor that down to 40% of each of those values and get to the FTE, we are looking at a projected loss of 9 full-time equivalent students because of that. But we will receive a declining enrollment exemption due to that, so that will help a little bit. So open enrollment typically is it increases year over year for our district. As of the January pupil count, we had 119 students enrolled in, and that provided us with about $950,000 in revenue. And we only had 55 students enrolled out. So that cost the district about $445,000. But again, that's a net profit for the district overall. And open enrollment, like I touched on, we might see some changes just depending on what happens with COVID, really. So for the general state aid, the largest portion of general state aid is our equalization aid. Equalization aid is a formula, and the purpose of it is to distribute tax dollars to provide students about the same number or the same member dollar amount for education. So it's literally supposed to equalize every child's education expenditures. There's an inverse relationship between equalization aid and property tax, or property value, I mean. So if one goes up, the other goes down. Merton has a high per pupil property valuation, and therefore we will probably receive less equalization aid than other districts in the state. And our estimated aid from DPI at this point is about $3.1 million. And again, that'll be finalized on October 15th. So the revenue limit minus state aid is the total tax levy. So at this point, that's projected to be about $4.5 million. So here's our tax levy. As you can see, the mill rate has been decreasing over the past few years. I'm proposing a decrease again for this budget year. I'm projecting a 5.5% increase in property value, and that's just based on past data, the past several years, and also current market conditions. So our total tax levy is set to be about $4.5 million, and again, that will be finalized in October. So the higher the property valuation, that will increase the tax base, which then ultimately lowers the mill rate, because the mill rate is divided out over the equalized value of the district. So I put an example on there, just that the mill rate is $1,000 per equalized value per home, meaning for every $1,000 of assessed value, $4.40 is owed in property taxes.
Question.
Yeah.
What percentage for the 2021 budget for your total budget dollar amount, the $4.5 million?
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of that or is that of the revenue limit? Like, are we going all the way to the revenue limit, below it, like, where do we stand?
Yes, we're planning on utilizing our full revenue limit authority. So equalization aid and the property tax, we will be using that to the maximum. So this is, I just wanted to go over this real briefly. Fund 73, as I had mentioned before, this is closed this year. So I just kind of wanted to prove that for the 2021 budget year, there won't be any expenditures. So it was closed, the retirees have utilized all of their benefits and no one else is moving into this fund. So for fund balance updates, I just wanted to kind of give a brief overview about the district's fund balances. So keep in mind, fund balance isn't cash, it's the difference between assets and liabilities in any given fund. So the district really is in a strong position to weather the COVID storm, so I think we're very fortunate that way. The unaudited balance in the general fund is just over 3.6 million. Of that, we did reserve 240,000 last year specifically to help with COVID expenses that we were planning on incurring this year, just kind of looking forward and seeing that would happen. So our special revenue account is comprised primarily of donations. This one has a fund balance of just about $26,000, or yeah, $26,000. Our capital expansion fund is just over $1 million, and the long-term capital expansion fund is at $800,000. Food service also has a healthy fund balance of about $68,000. And this is the last slide I want to share with you tonight. This is our COVID revenues and expenditures. COVID doesn't really provide revenue, but in a sense it does because we have the $240,000 set aside that we have reserved previously. We also have discovered about $120,000 salary savings within the budget, and we have a CARES Act funding of $46,000. So the total anticipated expenses are about $434,000 and probably growing. So some of these expenses are the 3 long-term subs that we talked about, one at each building, and then the floating aid. We have much higher cleaning expenses than any other year. Personal protective equipment for staff and students. We did move our 3 aides from part-time to full-time just for this year, but then that does result in a higher salary expense and benefits being owed. So one position, we also increased the FTE on, and then we are providing staff daycare if and when it's needed. And then we have just instructional supplies. A lot of it has to be personalized. So instead of sharing markers, each student has their own whiteboard and their own set of markers. So we did have some increased expenses there. And I had talked a little bit about open enrollment too, as students potentially go to virtual platforms, we might be experiencing a loss in revenue that we would normally get.
What does salary savings mean?
So salary savings was, there was a position, one of our teachers left the district, and then we moved one of our specialists into that role. And then we also have our buildings and grounds director who's no longer with us. So that's primarily where that number is coming from. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks, April. Thank you. Okay, that concludes the hearing on the budget. So we're going to call the annual meeting to order. And we've got, I'm going to look for the motion to dispense of reading minutes from 2019 since we read them at the end of last year. So
I'll make a motion to dispense the reading of the annual minutes for the 2019.
I'll second.
the motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. Okay, we'll start with the district administrator's report, state of the district message.
Presentation again.
Here.
Okay, thanks everybody. Again, welcome, and just wanted to give a brief. First of all, I'm Ron Russ, I'm the district superintendent. Just wanted to give a little overview about the state of the district, and just kind of highlight some of our strategic goals this year, and just some of the things that we're going to be working on as we move into the 2020 school year. So the first one is our teaching and learning plan. Per our strategic plan, we are this year going to be focusing on science, music, and human growth and development. In addition to that, we also are going to be working on infusion review of some social and cultural opportunities. For our student achievement team, we'll be getting together later very soon to start to talk about what those next steps are. But just like usual, we'll continue to put a district level team together made of teachers, school board administration to recommend to our school board this upcoming April of 21 in those different areas as well. Per our strategic plan as well, we'll continue to infuse social emotional learning. We are infusing that into our student curriculum, but then also continuing to develop our own staff about their own social emotional well-being as we think about moving forward and meeting their needs. From a facilities and finances, obviously April just gave a very brief overview of the district finances. We are in great shape. This upcoming spring, we are anticipating moving forward with the intermediate school remodel of this area in the 1975 wing, which includes basically a possible remodel for our choir, our band, our art, our STEM spaces, front office, cafeteria, and it's a really exciting project that we're all working on as a community. Obviously, we continue to keep up to date with our roofs as well, and we'll take a look at our roof replacement projects. We are nearing the end of the roof replacements in the districts because we've been so proactive the last several years. And then finally, as kind of a nice little summary, we pushed off another year of the intermediate school floor, the gym floor, a complete resanding, redecaling, relogoing at this time too as well, which will be a nice little touch as we think about this remodel and entering into our gym to focus on that community piece too as well. And then ultimately, we've been really busy this past year. Obviously, we did roofing projects, we had some turf projects, we redid the primary school cafeteria with some sound as well as some paint. We've got some more storage, and then ultimately coming up here in about a week or two, we'll continue from the purchase approval to make sure that we've got a generator on staff, which will keep our wells going in case of a power, our network servers, and things like that too as well. So we're really excited not to have to worry about some of those power outages that we've been experiencing here the last few weeks. Looks there too. From a community engagement standpoint, the board last year continued and implemented a community forum before all of our board workshops. And the district continues to push out. A couple weeks ago, we pushed out a digital newsletter to our community, and we'll continue to keep them informed about all the things that we're doing here within our walls and all the things we're doing for our community. And then ultimately, from a community engagement standpoint, we're going to continue to keep everybody up to date as much as we possibly can as it relates to COVID-19 and all of the things that we're doing proactively to make sure that we stay safe, to stay open from a standpoint of that too. So we spent a lot of time educating our parents and our staff as well as our students on some really neat things about how we want to move forward here in this upcoming school year. From a workforce engagement standpoint, we continue to really try to focus on employee retention. This past year, we know that we did have a higher turnover rate than usual, but we continue to try to engage our staff and to engage all of our employees in our community and why that occurred, but ultimately continue to take a look at meeting their needs as we look forward to this upcoming school year too. And part of that is creating an educational environment where they are supported with professional development, with specialists, and with a tremendous amount of the materials they need to really make sure that they can be successful moving forward this upcoming year as well. So again, just really trying to make sure that we meet our staff needs in this new world, this new year that we're looking at too as well. So just kind of outside of that too, and ultimately this year is going to be the year that we continue to really work on virtual learning with our staff, as well as how do we make this blended environment where some of them are virtual and some of them are face-to-face. how do we continue to support families at home, our students, as well as our staff? But ultimately, how do we respond when, when during the pandemic? And that's really the things that we've been focusing in on, and that we are going to continue to as well. And then, like April said too, is we're going to hear hopefully, right around January, February about what the new biennial budget means to us. And obviously, there's lots of talk and conversation. We'll continue to keep our community as well as the school board informed about what those possible scenarios might be as we are moving forward in the new biennial. So there's a lot of things getting tossed around, but we do believe that a lot of those things are going to continue per the promise of the last biennial budget. So ultimately, obviously, like April said, is everything we are doing is to, academic excellence, inspiring curiosity, and really focusing on that personal growth. We are going to continue doing that. Again, whether it's, when we talk to our families about how we work through the pandemic, they want academic excellence, social emotional needs, and we really believe that we've got a plan to hopefully continue to move everybody forward in those three possible areas of our mission statement as well. And that is at the forefront of what we are doing here in the Merton Community School District. Any questions? Got a lot going on. That's for sure. Thank you.
Okay, the first item of business is approval of salaries for school board members.
Can I ask a question before we make the motion? No, it's not really not.
We should try to do this the proper way.
Okay. I'll make a motion to change the school board salary members to $0 per year.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
So my question is there a law that says we have to get paid?
No, there is not. I think the Conoway district hasn't been paid for a long time.
So, I mean, I guess I don't know about anyone else, but like I spend probably 300 or 400 hours a year doing this. And so, obviously we're not doing it for the money. And even, at $850 a year, I think we have a group of really dedicated people doing this job that, it's not monetarily driven. So I guess I see no reason to bother paying us at all.
Because of that, Phillip, because of the 300-400, because of multiple hours, I would like to, I think a small stipend is considerate for the time and the energy and the effort that the school board has put forward. So it's not a large amount of money, but I think it's just mostly a show of gratitude, in my opinion, for all the time and energy away from your family and
I do understand your point, obviously. Nobody's doing this for the money. I don't even want to do that. I know personally, though, I've used the money to pay for running that money went towards like paying for all the printed materials I put out for re-election or like
That's why you won by more than 2 votes.
or election signs.
True.
So, but I do.
I know, especially this year, I think, and maybe this isn't fair, but we've gotten, there have been numerous times when we've gotten feedback both from staff and the community that gave the indication that they didn't think we were doing a very good job anyway. So it just was hard to justify in my mind. But
We do struggle to get people to run And most of the times, elections from polls, but that's very typical in all elections. Now, if you look at our fall primary, so it's just, I think we just have one contested race on that.
Well, it's hard to argue that too, because especially when, for some of those positions are political. And I think there's, right, I mean, school board is not partisan, right? So this argument doesn't apply, but I think especially like in our community, Waukesha in general, you know, if there's a Republican partisan candidate that's been there for some period of time, it's hard to convince people to run against them because there's a pretty low likelihood that they're going to, just based on the demographic and voting population, which is fine. But yeah, we do, the school board election as well are, you know, obviously rarely have competition. But if that's the argument, like what would that number need to be in order to motivate people more, right? If that's why you're gonna, you know, have some salary. There's no, I mean, maybe I just spent a lot more time on this than I should. I don't know.
No, we appreciate it.
Well, right, I mean, even if you spent 100 hours doing this a year, that's $8.50 an hour. So like, if you're trying to make like justifications for like monetary benefit or motivating someone, then I don't know what the right number would be. I would assume at least minimum wage. Yeah, but then we'd have to guess like how many hours you spend doing this, right?
I guess my concern would be I wouldn't want to dissuade anybody to run in the future, not assuming that they're running because they're assuming they're going to win. But if they're in an economic position to maybe not be able to afford all the materials they need to run the most effective campaign, with them knowing if they did win that they would somehow be in a position to be reimbursed because there is a salary, very, very small salary to this position. Would that neutralize them from feeling more comfortable taking the risk to run and investing in themselves?
Maybe.
And I realize
or does
there's
that
no
like
always-
unfairly benefit the incumbent? Right, assuming that there is an incumbent, right? Because that incumbent over the last year has gotten that salary, whatever the number is. And so now they have that money at their disposal without having to, you know, impart any financial burden to them to rerun. Right, there's less risk for the incumbent than there is for the.
Any more discussion? Okay.
Well, I guess, sorry, one last one. Ultimately, you're given the money. And because I don't want to make a decision for what would motivate or demotivate somebody in the future, you can choose to do whatever you want with that money. So you can then donate that money back to the school. You can do what you want with it. I'm just hesitant to remove it for future boards. That's it.
Ready?
Done.
Okay, I just want to, so we're clear, we have potential for 6 votes here. Because Dr. Russ is the voting member here. Yeah, okay. So, if there's a 3-3 tie, motion fails. Just so everybody understands that. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, then say aye. Opposed? Aye. I think we shut that one down.
I'll make a motion to keep, to have the salary for the school board members to stay at $850. It was last year.
I will second that motion. Any discussion?
I think given the salary freezes of the staff. And that's where that motion came from.
Okay, then all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion is carried. That would be an 850. Okay, we are on to adoption of the tax levy. There is a specific way that has to be read.
It's just, I make a motion that the annual levy be established at. So I'll make that.
No, I forgot that you get to do it.
Go ahead. I'll do this.
I make a motion that the annual levy be established at $4,466,135 for general fund 10, $60,000 for non-referendum debt service fund 38, $0 for referendum debt service fund 39, $1,000 for capital expansion fund 41, and $0 for community service fund 80, for a total levy of $4,527,135.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And this is a recommendation to the board because we do actually set it in October. So all in favor then say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Okay, we've got established date and time for the 2021 annual meeting.
You want to stay in the middle of September?
I don't know when we're gonna draw more people to our annual meeting.
We typically have done it in September because school's back in session.
Right.
Some school districts do it in August. I know every year we talk about that's when parents are out and about, but everybody's pretty much around in the middle of September.
So we still don't draw.
Yep. Is this a motion and a second?
Yes.
All right.
No, we're just setting a time and the motion to carry unanimously.
14th is the Tuesday.
Favor days. Okay. I'll make a motion to set the 2021 annual meeting for the Merton Community School District on September 14th, 2021 at 7 p.m.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Previously, we've been doing some of our regular board meetings at 6 as opposed to 7. We've got something that we want to apply to this meeting as well.
Sure.
I'll amend my motion to instead of 7 p.m., 6 p.m.
I still. I'll second the amendment.
Okay, any further discussion? All fair say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say aye. Motion carried. Okay, we're on to new business, and we have the authorization to sell musical materials and or equipment. You don't have any? Okay, we're good. Just there. Fund 73 update that was addressed in our budget hearing. Okay. If someone clerk would read the minutes.
So here, motion. Motion by Brown first. Okay. And then by Dean second. That's up.
Do you want them for this, just this motion?
Oh, no, the whole thing, I believe has to.
But you were just clarifying.
Yeah, just clarifying that part.
Okay, there's a lot. The annual meeting with budget hearing was called to order by Dean Dobbertin at 7:01 p.m. Motion by Ron Russ, second by Katie Welnetz to elect Dean Dobbertin as chairperson. Motion carried unanimously 5-0. What's DD's? DDC.
Oh, Dean at 7:03 p.m.
Got it. Dean at 7:03 p.m. called the budget hearing to order. Dean Dobbertin called the annual meeting to order at 7:19. Motion by Phillip, Spindler, second by Lindsay to dispense the reading of the annual minutes of Tuesday, September 10th, 2019 at 7 p.m. Motion carried unanimously, 5-0. Motion by Ron Russ for school board salary to remain $850. Second by Dean Dobbertin, vote carried 4-2. Motion by Phil Spindler, second by Ron Russ, to approve that the annual levy be established at $4,466,135 general fund 10. 60,000 non-referendum debt service fund 38, 1,000 capital expansion fund 41, with a total of $4,527,135. Motion carried unanimously. By consensus of the citizens, the 2021 annual school board meeting will be held at 6 p.m. on Saturday, September 14th, 2021. Motion carried. It's a Tuesday. Tuesday. Motion carried unanimously.
I'll second. Okay, we have a motion and second to approve the minutes. All in favor, then say aye. Aye. Those same sign, motion carried. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
The motion is second. All in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign, meeting is adjourned.